to you. On these pages that day, there were faithful night and day, when I found you were no longer in love. After that, there's nothing more, just a dark and till door that shines now the stars above. Read my little book. I inscribe your heart file. But since we're apart now, this and the last week here is all that left. A random jazz song. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Darren Collins was first, Eddie Eagle, Red Pepperoni, Ape Fathers. I heard GameStop has a massive meetup in New York City on the 9th. Anyone going to it? TNY, Darren Collins, P Money, Korean Young, The One, Don J, Ruby, Barbara. So we've got about 20 minutes to kill, and I'm sure you saw CAUD hit 220 in the pre-market. I don't know where it is now, but I want to start getting us thinking about other issues in the world. And, I was thinking some of maybe the pressure I put on myself and others with my making some views clear or unclear is you can't trust the media. That's my point. You can't automatically trust the media. I mean, if it's a football score, you got it. They got it. But anyway, look at this. Russia takes control of Iraq's biggest oil discovery for 20 years. This is November 28th, 2023. Russia takes control of Iraq's biggest oil discovery for 20 years. Now, I've told you before, in my judgment and in my studies, I think Iraq is the last country that has truly massive conventional oil reserves. Saudi Arabia is always going to be wealthy, and they've got oil, but I think they've, their big fields have been producing a long, long time. And I feel that way about Iran. I think one of the reasons Iran has pursued nuclear technology is for purposes of perhaps domestic power while they can export the oil they have left. Obviously, that, as it turns out, that may be a very simplistic view. Let me just read a little bit of this to you. Preliminary estimates suggest that Iraq's Eridu oil field holds between 7 and 10 billion barrels of oil. So what did we spent trillions of dollars, and Russia now controls this oil. Do you think we're ever duped as American taxpayers? Senior Russian oil industry sources last week said the true figure may well be 50% more than 10 billion, in other words, 15 billion barrels. In either event, the Eridu field, part of Iraq's Block 10 exploration and development region, is the biggest oil find in Iraq in the last 20 years. And Russia wants to control all of it, along with its chief geopolitical ally, China. You don't think this is going to change our lifestyle? This is in line with Moscow and Beijing's objective of keeping the West out of energy deals in Iraq. Why did we spend trillions of dollars in Iraq, maim and kill our own soldiers? So Russia and China can predominate? Anyway, it's done now, as ever. This is in line with Moscow and Beijing's objective of keeping the West out of energy deals in Iraq to keep Baghdad closer to the new Iran-Saudi axis and to, quote, end the Western hegemony in the Middle East that will become the decisive chapter in the West's final demise, unquote. The approval last week, that quote, it doesn't say who it's from. I guess a senior Russian oil industry source. The approval last week by Iraq's oil ministry for INPEX, the major oil company of key U.S. ally Japan, to sell its 40% stake in the Block 10 region, which contains the huge Eridu discovery, leaves the way clear for Lukoil, that's Russia, to take control of the entire oil-rich area. Lukoil had held a 60% stake in the entirety of Block 10, with the remainder held by the Japanese firm. However, from March, it has been looking for ways to push Japan, IPEX, out of the block. And with the last remnants of Western influence in the area, and by driving Japan out, they also drive out Western influence. March saw Iraq's state-owned Dhaka Oil Company, DQOC, formally approve the development of Block 10's reserves, including the Eridu field. Block 10 lies in the southeast of Iraq, approximately 120 kilometers west of the key export route from Basra, and just south of the huge fields in and around Nasiriyah. The block was awarded to Lukoil and Japan back in 2012. They expect peak production of 250,000 barrels of oil a day by basically 4 years from now. And Russia thinks it could be 100,000 barrels higher than that. So 350,000 barrels a day. And it might take till 2029 to achieve that. Back in 2021, at least before the United States formally withdrew from Iraq by ending its, quote, combat mission there at the end of December under the foreign policy of this administration, it was clear that Washington knew what Russia and China were up to long-term in the country and how the United States was being manipulated by Iraq. In a moment of insight, the then U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, Dana Stroul, said, "It's clear that certain countries and partners would want to hedge and test what more they might be able to get from the United States by testing the waters of deeper cooperation with the Chinese or Russians, particularly in security and military space," unquote. This view could equally have been aimed not just at Iraq, but also at most other countries in the Middle East, most notably Saudi Arabia and the UAE. The UAE is probably all by itself, or maybe one of 2 or 3 countries who could increase their production. Saudi Arabia, everyone thinks they could do it. I think it's debatable. It doesn't mean they don't have a lot of oil. That said, this profound insight had no effect on Washington at that point and posed no impediment to that's my eyesight, to either Russia or China's continued drive to entirely push the United States out of the Middle East. For Iraq, the end game has been apparent from Russia's effective takeover of the oil and gas industry of the country's troublesome semi-autonomous region of Kurdistan in New York. This occurred in the chaos which followed the brutal putdown of the region after 93% of its inhabitants voted for full independence from Iraq in September 2017. Russian control over Iraq Kurdistan was secured via the state's corporate proxy, Rosneft, through three means. Anyway, I'll cut that off there. Key part of both deals is that China has first right of refusal on all oil, gas, and petrochemical projects, which come up during the duration of the deal in Iraq, with a 30% discount. Railway infrastructure, New Silk Road. These plans in turn link into the corollary plans by Russia and China to turn the entire southeast region of Iraq into a region crisscrossed by Russian and Chinese controlled oil and gas fields and transportation hubs. So we spent trillions of your money for what? So Russia and China can have the relationship with Iraq government and oil. I don't know. When are we going to wake up that what we read in the news, how they hype us up emotionally, is also that behind the scenes, another agenda goes forward? It goes on to talk about another Chinese contract. This is written by Simon Watkins. He wrote a book on it too. Anyway, I'll stop there. We've got 5 minutes. Mr. BN Pro, I'm going to learn how, but I'm going to wait until I get a better setup. I've heard that by getting people to hit the like button, which I never have asked for, somehow directs this to more people, and there's, my little residuals, and they are small, could increase. The other thing is, I really suspect that my subscriber base is being, there's a word for it, shadow banned or something, because it never goes up. I'd like to get my subscribers up to 10,000, because boy, then I could keep up with Kim Kardashian and Courtney Cox and an avid trader. Hi, Linda. Thank you, Korea Moon. 37 likes makes me feel especial. It was Bank of America and other banksters that put in power. Well, I also think the banksters back then really caused trouble on the Russian ruble. And there was a bit of a backlash. I had a Russian girlfriend. She had brown eyes. And she pointed out to me a couple of things. One was that all of the Hollywood stars have blue eyes. I never had thought of it, and I noticed she was right. But then since then, I don't think it's always true. And she also pointed out to me, which I never thought of, all of the oligarchs were, I don't know if they were Israeli, I don't know if they were all Jewish, but they were all sponsored by or funded by New York banks, and at least I guess in some cases um, uh, others. So anyway, I don't remember all the history. Boris Yeltsin was a drunk. I think he was aided by Bill Clinton. Um, I think Boris Yeltsin put Putin in. He chose Putin, and I think Putin has kind of tried to bring because all those resources were purchased by the oligarchs, and it concentrated all the power, and the Russian people were left with very little. And I think Putin has tried to fight back on that, although rumors are he's the world's wealthiest man. All right. I'm going to call in. Speaking of the world's wealthiest man, and we'll talk to the hamster. We will talk to the hamster. Well, I just got to turn on the speaker. Hang on.
First might be fun.
Okay, go ahead. You're the voice. The voice, the audience.
There, I have William. You ready, William?
Yeah, voice meet the audience. The audience meet the voice.
All right. This is again not advice on investing. This is our own opinions. Blah 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 blah. SEC, fuck you. Anyway, again, two shareholders have reached out to me. I believe there's a reporter on, and I'm going to just guess. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I believe it's Reuters has a reporter on here. Welcome. I will try to recap a lot for you. And there's a new law enforcement. I don't know who it is. The shareholder said that he will have enforcement listening to the call today. So whoever you are, welcome. And I will try to go back and forth a little bit more detailed. For those who don't understand what's going on here, I will just try to recap a whole bunch of nonsense for everyone so they can get up to speed, so that if I do get a chance to speak with them, we can actually move this along a lot quicker than we want. It's always the most important thing is what I always try to teach everybody is education. And the more people that understand it, the more the fight grows. And I believe that between the GameStop, AMC, Bed Bath & Beyond, the GTI finger, you name it, Northwest Bio, I don't want to miss anybody, but I can't remember all the names. MMTLP, of course, education and attacking the way we are, we will expose this fraud and get this to stop. This counterfeiting. Remember, the word is counterfeiting. Going back in time for the people who haven't paid attention, we're going against counterfeiters. This is not Wall Street gave it a name called naked short selling to make it sound like it's some sort of derivative or some sort of hedge or some sort of nonsense using a Wall Street term. It's counterfeiting. These people are selling something they do not own or have no right to. We are buying it with our money and get nothing in return but an IOU. Think about going to the car dealership, buying a car. You give them the money and they tell you, hey, don't worry about it. We'll give you the car when we get one. That's equivalent what they're doing. Or a steakhouse. You walk in, you go order a steak. They bring you nothing but the check. Pay the bill. Where's my steak? That's what it is. This is, this is a cash and carry system. You buy something, I want whatever I paid for it delivered. The system is designed, and it's designed for hedge funds and money managers and offshore terrorists to loot the U.S. investor. They created this thing that it's for liquidity. I don't need any more liquidity. I want to pay a commission, so the SEC should stop telling everyone they're saving us money. We're all losing money because of these transactions not being settled and this liquidity. I don't need a better price. If I figure out a stock has got the goods and I pay $5 for it, The next person who figures it out should be paying $5.12 or $5.20 or $5.30. They should be able to get the opportunity to pay $3 for it. Right? I've been in a stock called Finger Motion since December 31st, 2018. It's 4 years. I paid $287 for it. The company was a quarter of what it is today. A quarter. And based on what the price is right now, 4.25, I'm up diddly squat. All right? The stock was at $9 when it was listed on the NASDAQ. And someone has been naked shorting it down. Obviously, it's tied to a toxic lender because no one in their right mind would sell 200 million shares of an IOU, a fake counterfeit share, and then go out and borrow 2 million more shares trying to just to hold it down so the stock doesn't go up in value. All right? That shows you the crime. As I speak, I'm looking at it. Someone just threw in another 25. There's always a seller. So for the reporter enforcement, if you look at the trading in the stock is 421 to 424 on FNGR right now, real time. As soon as someone takes the 424, someone jumps in and offers it at 423, trying to make it go lower all the time. Investors do not sell stock like that. This is criminal stuff that you're seeing. All right? This is stuff that these people belong in jail for. They're counterfeiting from offshore. They take the money, the American population, everyone gets zero. They steal from the police. They steal from the reporters, pension funds, I don't know if you're FBI, Secret Service, whoever you are. If you have a pension account, they're stealing. And they don't do it just in small caps. They do it in major companies also. So don't listen to any of these big mouths telling you these stories. Right? The people always tell us we need short sellers. For what? It's like, I'd rather have a hole in my head than have a short seller. The short seller has no value. They're destructive. They say that they inject information into the marketplace. If someone comes to my house that's worth $600,000 and tells me they want to pay $2 million, I don't need a short seller to tell me it's overvalued. I know what to do. I'm selling it. VVOS, Victor, Oscar, Sam. Yesterday went from 5 to 50. I think it was 50 was the high. No shit. It was a short squeeze. I know it's overvalued. If I was long, I would have sold into it. And guess what? I would love to short it too, but you can't borrow the shares. So who can short it? There is no game. The only people that can short it and knock it down are naked short sellers who sell it without borrowing and bypass all the security laws that are set up. That's what's going on. The game is slanted. The ice is slanted. Hockey, where you got to skate uphill and the other team skates downhill all the time, that's equivalent to what we got going on here. There was another stock today, and I am Mary, and I forgot the number. I'm sorry, there it is. Mary Indian Nancy Mary. Yesterday, I think it was like at five. I think it was. I'm not sure. I think it was 91 cents. Today it went to $10. Yeah, I don't know how big the company is, but it traded 63 million shares. I doubt this company has that many shares that are tradable. Who's trading all the stock all day long in the same spot? All right. The share number of volume is another fraudulent number, and that's something that needs to be looked into. Who's creating, as Darren used to say in the old Wall Street conspiracy movie, there's too much action in the stock. There is too much action. Why does the stock trade 63 million shares? Darren was ahead of his time before he passed away. This stock was Virogen, I think it was VRGN or VRGN, I think it was. The poor guy fighting for a cancer company winds up dying of cancer. And that's what's going to happen to everyone on this phone. These guys destroy public companies that cure cancer, create technology, can clean CNLV, clean the ocean, whatever anybody's doing. I don't care if CNLV has two guys with a rake. They're doing more than anybody else is to try to clean up the mess. All right? I don't know what they do, but every time I see a photo of it, it makes me sick. But these are the things that create jobs, these companies, and they're all getting destroyed. There was a company the other day, I don't know the complete damage of it. Sam, Eddie, Larry. It's the latest casualty for our new friends that joined in today. Stocks get sold down so much, they get delisted from the exchanges. And when they get delisted from the exchanges, they all make a critical mistake and they do a reverse. They do a reverse on the stock, meaning that if they have 10 million shares, they knock it down to where they only have 1 million shares. So everyone loses whatever the percentages of your holdings. So if you have 100 shares, after they do the reverse, you may have 20 shares. So you're a complete loser out of the gate. The company did a reverse, and then the next day after the reverse, all the shareholders lost. I forgot the percentage. All the shareholders are losers already. And then the next day, the company raised money, and the shorts destroyed it again. So the short sellers, or the naked shorts, or the counterfeiters, which I like to call them, have got the company to retire most of their short position because of the reverse. It lowers their short position. So if they're short 100,000 shares, after the reverse, they're only short 30,000 shares, so let's say. And when they don't have to cover it, the IRS doesn't see the closing transaction. Remember, when you buy a stock, you sell it, the IRS sees the difference, and you pay tax on it. When you sell a stock on the other side, when you sell it short, if you don't cover, the company goes to zero, there's no reported closing transaction. So that's why they kill the companies, because the companies, they don't have to pay tax on all that money. So for example, in FNGR, we have these guys short 200 million shares of stock. And like I said before, FNGR was 21 to 24. Now it's 21 to 25, 23. Excuse me, they lowered it by a penny, like I said they would, with no trades. So the whole thing is just try to keep, for the new people that joined, it's a game to get you to feel uncomfortable about your position, and for you to think that there's always a seller. The longs are trying to sell, which is completely false. We post the data every day at 5:30 and confirm what's going on here. Any questions, William? Remember, I'm explaining it to two new people, so please, if I missed something, let me know.
Well, there was a question about GDC, which is off your topic, so we can delay that.
GDC, I told you, I heard that the stock, smart people I know bought it. That's a fact. I have my friends bought it. I have one friend buy 50,000 today. I'm waiting. The stock looks like it's washed out. If you heard me talk about it, you bought it below 380. That's what my daughter paid for it. So I'm just sitting here waiting for it. And I don't know what's going to happen to make it go, but maybe we'll get that VVOS or that, whatever that last name I just gave you. I don't know.
And then one gentleman's asking, why is the United States going to Asia to help them combat naked short selling?
That's a great question. For the new participants we have on the phone, we all know that the U.S. market has been totally destroyed by these counterfeiters. And all of a sudden, the counterfeiters popped up in other foreign countries, and two of them stepped up and are banning it. One is South Korea, and the other is Thailand. So to put damage or put Band-Aids on it to stop the bleeding, the SEC, who doesn't do anything for us here, is going to gladly go to those countries and try to assist them in helping them fix their naked short selling problem. They won't do it here, but they're going to do it there. What they're going to do, in my opinion, which I believe is pretty good on this stuff, they go in there to convince them they're making the wrong move and that you need the counterfeiters in your stocks. They help the retail investor lose all their money. They help the country lose money on taxes, lose jobs. I don't know how the SEC or NASDAQ can actually show their face in these countries. These are trades that were created in the U.S. And the U.S. has now taught criminals all over the world how to go loot both countries, stealing from Thailand. And I've been to Thailand, okay? Great country. But again, who's going to steal from these people? Most of them are riding around in mopeds, not cars, mopeds. People ride mopeds, and I've seen it, William, where the wife is sitting on the guy's behind the seat, and they're sitting there with the babies holding on to them. 4 or 5 people on the same moped. And the naked shorts want to steal from those people. They don't care who to steal from. So for your doctors, military, firemen, first responders, nurses, neurosurgeons, they steal your money. Look at Dr. Aziz, a famous oncology surgeon out of LA. A famous oncology surgeon out of LA. He's in the stocks, and he's so disgusted that he works so hard to save people's lives. And they steal his money. Couldn't care less. Think about what the SEC is doing to people. If I was that doctor and you came in, you told me you work for a hedge fund, I would tell you I'm not operating on you. Get lost. Go get a witch doctor, you freaks.
Just cut out a pound of flesh.
They just, and you know what? He's such a great guy, and he suffers because he doesn't like to lose his money because he feels like he's hurting his family. But that's all they've done is hurt this guy. He's a surgeon. He's not an equity market expert. I've taught him, I trained him, I've showed him as much as I can. And they still keep coming after us and trying to hurt everyone here. All right, so it doesn't make a difference what you do, where you come from, all right? And these guys are criminals. So for the reporter and hopefully law enforcement on this call, they're stealing your money. And if you don't want to stop it, I don't care anymore. I'm old enough, I know what's going on. They're going to steal from you, your children, and your grandchildren. So either stand up and fight or enjoy the pain. They're going to get you one way or another. You may not even invest in the equity markets. When you need that cancer treatment to save yourself, maybe you got head and neck cancer, brain cancer, liver cancer, whatever it may be, the ones that are no one cures, and you need that cure, who are you going to call, right? You got to call Ghostbusters over here because there's no one here. All the companies that work on those small little drugs that can help save people's lives, they get destroyed for trying. And the short sellers and the counterfeiters use negative stories. It's so criminal now that they're using we're getting negative reports from some brilliant financial writer out of Brazil with no name, attacking public companies, putting false information out, and being a front for the counterfeiters so they can knock down the stock. And when the SEC knocks on their door and say, why did you short the stock? They all say the same thing. Well, Capybara did a report. I'm just following him. And that's what they do. They have someone run interference for them. And the interference is coming from Brazil. They don't even know where Wall Street is, but they're writing research reports on public companies from Brazil with nobody behind it. Just think how fraudulent that is. Any other questions, William?
This is one, I think, from a woman. Is Ham feeling better today?
Yes, I am. You can hear it in my voice, right? But now my daughter's sick, so I gave it to somebody else. Whatever I had, it went to somebody else.
A friend of yours is asking a question, which I don't.
No, it's the same pattern. I know.
His first, well, that guy already asked. I skipped it. His first name is Mike. How do they counterfeit? Lend. What's the process? Fake secondary, dilution, no price discovery, always supply. That's the question or the statement, but it's for you to comment on.
I could put a video up there. I'll put it up there. I'll put it up for you. It's a company called Sedona. You can watch the video and it'll explain it to you. Very easy. I put it up 1,000 times and you can actually see exactly how it works. It's the same process. There's a loophole in the financial system. I could put the loophole up. Everyone uses a market maker exemption where they're supposed to be making an orderly market. And what do? They just counterfeit the shares. That's the loophole.
Okay. This gentleman wants to know, can you give him specifics like the peak price, the timeline, etc.? Of course, the answer is no. But
yes, I can give you the timeline. I'm only kidding. I don't know. I've been doing this 24 years. So for the reporter and law enforcement on the phone, I've been doing this for 24 years since the year 2000. I've lived through it all. I've seen it all. Most people have gone from doing this stuff. They've had heart attacks or died of cancer or whatever it may be. For some reason, I'm still around, and I feel I'm around to do one thing, is to educate everybody about this. I wasn't looking for another fight, okay? But this one just happened to jump in front of me with these two stocks. So I became an expert. That's the way I was trained. When you work on Wall Street, you can't study all these names. There's too many. So I became an expert. So I used whatever knowledge I had. I studied everything about the stock and understanding naked shorts. We watched two companies trap these guys. We've even put a truck in front of the STC. And if you go to Twitter, I'm sure your friend will show you. I put photos. We put it out there 13 or 14, I can't remember how many times. We've had the truck at the FBI, DOJ, Fox News, CNBC News, the DTC, FINRA, Morgan, what's that? Gibson Dunn, we had it at their office. We put it at Fox News. I can't remember the Lynn Partner's office on Madison Avenue, the SEC 1,000 times, the White House, the Capitol, you name it, we put it everywhere. We are begging for help, calling the police, and we get nothing back. We hear crickets. That's what we get back. So to see two foreign countries step in and fight and decide to ban naked short selling is a breath of fresh air and a well-deserved one for the investors in the United States. Me and William were going to travel to Seoul, South Korea, but I felt sick. I didn't want to get caught in an airport with a temperature because I didn't want to be taken away and put in seclusion someplace till you get better. And people say, oh, it's not like that. Well, I don't want to. I was there and I seen it happen, so I don't really want to get involved. I did it when I was healthy, and I didn't want to go do it when I wasn't feeling well. So that's why we delayed it. But we are going to see the regulators in South Korea. I have two people that have contacts, one through a legal end and one through hold on a second, and one through the regulators themselves. So we have great contacts, and we will go there. And we want companies to. I worked on the business model to delist, leave the United States, all right, leave the United States and relist on the South Korean exchange. I want to tell them I can set up a venture exchange on the South Korean exchange, as long as they don't allow naked short selling or any short selling at all. We don't need it. We would get companies, I would hire a sales force, get companies to leave the U.S. and get protected and trade in South Korea. Everyone can trade stocks in South Korea through any of your platforms. It's not illegal. It's like trading in the U.S., the same thing. And if companies were to leave, that would help them grow. It would help grow the city of South Korea. They can get banking, brokerage firm relationships. We don't need hedge fund criminals like Savvy Management, Lynn Partners, Yorkville, all these other creatures that are out here stealing everybody's money. They don't invest in your company. They just destroy your companies. We want to go get real investment partners, go to South Korea, because they know that if they invest in a company, it's not going to be destroyed by short sellers knocking the stock down. Right, so that is the business model. And for those for the Reuters reporter, you say, wow, why would an American company go list in South Korea? Great question. Well, besides the protection, we would then build a financial news network to combat Reuters, Bloomberg, CNBC, whoever. And we would report on financial news, and we would cover the companies that are listed in South Korea and give them more exposure that they get in the U.S. because they get zero exposure in the U.S. The only companies that Reuters, Bloomberg, or anybody else covers is Apple, IBM, NVIDIA, the same 10 stocks. Every other public company is treated like they're a piece of shit. So let's go to a market that will respect us, and let's help build their equity markets up, and let the U.S. New York Stock Exchange, the empty building, okay, in New York City, that is considered a landmark of nothing. They protect nobody. They help drive United Airlines into zero. And for those that didn't know, they own a lot of big planes, mechanics, stewardess, pilots. All their pension money was robbed. The New York Stock Exchange said they were investigating in 2001. They never did anything. The pensions were screaming. The unions owned the whole company, yet there was more shares than were available. And they all looked the other way. All right, so that is why we wanted to move to South Korea. I can post the information about how the crooks work on a toxic debt. Mr. Bazile Law Firm, Mark Bazile, he has a technique to go after these guys as unregistered broker dealers because they're operating without a license. If they had a license, they would have to report everything they're doing. So they're operating in the dark. I'm just trying to cover a lot of stuff, so I'm trying to go slow and so that our new friends can understand it. I know I go quick, but I'm touching many bases, but I'm doing everything in our power to expose the short, find a way out of this mess. The regulators are not doing anything. MMTLP has been shut down for over a year. The people are demanding answers. We've got Congress asking the SEC. No one is helping anyone. No one understands what's going on here. How the whole government has turned its back on retail investors is amazing. So we have a few people robbing all the money from everyone, and no one stops them. And everybody knows who they are. All you have to look at is Ken Griffin from Citadel, right? Making billions of dollars. The guy from Virtue, the other guy, Doug, whatever his name is, stealing billions of dollars. If market making was so valuable, why did every firm on the street shut it down? Because they didn't want to get caught doing illegal activity under Goldman Sachs' symbol, GS, or Morgan Stanley. God forbid they got in trouble, it could bring down their brokerage firms. So they didn't want to do it, so they're doing it outside. So they're funding different people to do it, like Ken Griffin has been indicted. Virtue's been indicted by these big firms to go out there and rob everything. And I'm sure the banks and the brokers get a piece of the action, right? But because of this activity, all the criminals figured out how to do it, because criminals, guys who work on desks, see people do it. They say, what am I doing for? Let me go get a few bucks and I know how to do it and I'll do it. And that's what happens. Any other questions, William?
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of questions. Was Victor, Oscar, Sam, was that a short squeeze? I thought it was the FDA approval that made it go.
Well, if you thought it was the FDA approval that made it go, it's down $14 today. Go help yourself. If you think what they got approval for is so wonderful, then it's a great opportunity to buy it.
Then one Mexican is asking, Ham.
What? One Mexican? What?
That's his name, Mexican. He's asking, give an example of how Lynn Partners destroys a company who they're supposedly helping.
How did they destroy a public company? You walk in, you borrow money, they smile.
I think this is for the reporter listening.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So basically, a public company needs to raise money. They go to these lenders. The lenders seem to all be on the up and up. They have a beautiful office. They wear suits and ties, and they're very polite. And what they do is you walk in, you tell them how much money you want to borrow. And you go in, you say, I'd like to do $3 million because we need to pay our payroll and this and get us to wherever we have to go. And they say, no, we'll give you $10 million. The CEO and the CFO are there like, oh my God, they're fainting now. These guys are going to give us $10 million because they love our business model. So when they give you the paperwork to sign and you went in for 3, hoping you get 3, now you got 10, they sign anything. We got $10 million now. Let's say your stock is $3. By the time you get home and celebrate, your stock is going to be about $1. And now you have these guys selling shares because that's how they recoup their money, by selling shares. And they give you the money they get from their own investors. They give to the company. They fund the company with the investors' money, and they have no risk. So think about it. If you give $1 million at $1, and the stock is $1, converts into $1, you would get 1 million shares of stock. If the stock goes to a penny, what is that, William? 10 million, 100 million shares? I can't remember. They convert at a penny, the number is massive. So instead of diluting your company by 1 million shares, now it's 10 million shares you have to give to these criminals. So all the shares that they sell at $1, 90 cents, 80 cents, they get to keep all that money. And they may take in $100 million, and they gave you 10, and they make 90 million in profit. And the poor companies' market cap is completely destroyed because instead of giving 1 million shares, now they give away 10 million or 100 million shares, whatever it may be. So that makes their company basically worthless then. And that's how these guys operate. I will put up a story about Sedona on Twitter, and you guys can take a look at it. They know my name. They know who we are. And you can actually see it there, and I'll post it there for you. Any other questions?
No, hang on. Got to mute that.
All right, here, hold on a second. I'm just going to retweet it. Here it is. How toxic Brooks loop. I just posted it for you right now. There's a nice video. I outlined the whole thing. It's very easy to read. That is the playbook. That is the loophole that these guys lend money out. All right? It's right there. All right, and here it is. I'm going to retweet something. I'm not going to retype it. Here is the next thing for people that don't understand the loophole. I put it down. I put the link. It's right there. You can read it yourself. It's very easy to read. Everyone knows the loophole, how these guys do it. And the NASDAQ, and everybody was concerned. They all know the loophole exists. This is going back to 2007. I'm putting stories up about, and one was earlier, Sedona was earlier. It talks about how they use this market maker exemption to sell shares that don't exist. Now, I don't want to get too deep. But we can go from the market maker exemption. All right, it gets too deep. I can't go too deep for everybody. I'm trying to go easy today. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's questions. I love this one. It already moved up. Why do we need high-speed trading in over-the-counter stocks? I love that question.
Why not?
Turn everything into a pork belly.
It's high-speed trading creates volume, creates action, creates loopholes, creates opportunities for smarter people with more money to steal your money. That's it.
Some sort of green candle. I don't know anything about no candles. If GTII were to move to...
Someone just said to me, I mean, I respect this guy, and he's been following the stock for a long time. VVOS, everyone talked about, I think it was something was approved for sleep apnea. Is that what it's called?
Apnea.
Apnea, right. That was the approval.
Right.
He wrote, if it was the FDA approval on VVOS, why hasn't SENS, Sam, Eddie, Nancy, Sam, gone up with the diabetes approval? They got approval for, I don't know what they did, but for diabetes. Stock is 60 cents. It's gone straight down because I remember them telling me about this company a long time ago. So what happens is some shorts get caught, and they got caught in VVOS. They paid the price. They're most likely out of business, those guys today. And, that's how the game is played. Why isn't SENS gone? Why hasn't Finger gone? Why hasn't this gone? Because the government needs to step in, pull them out by their hair. Law enforcement needs to come in and arrest them. Enough with the loopholes and the nonsense. They need to be arrested.
If GTII goes to South Korea, what happens to our shares?
Okay, so here's the business model again. All your shares in the U.S. will be ripped up. So if you own 100 shares in the U.S., you will own 100 shares on the new exchange. The same symbol, okay? It'll be a different QSIP, and it'll be regulated by their SEC or regulatory body, and it'll eliminate the settlement process that we don't have here. That's what will happen. So basically, nothing will happen. What will happen is before the company leaves the U.S., after they file a Form 25, the short sellers will have to cover, because everyone who's leaving the U.S. needs to have a real share that they can trade with or deposit or trade or sell in the new market. Because if you own it at Merrill Lynch, let's say, 1 million shares of stock, and the stock is listed on the Seoul, South Korea exchange, you call Merrill Lynch and say, sell my stock, and they go, well, we can't because we don't own it. We don't have any shares for you. They would have to go out there and buy the stock then in South Korea and deliver it to you. So it creates a short squeeze. And we're forcing their hand to deliver the stock.
That's good. How does a company or a CEO find a legitimate financing firm or lender?
Go to South Korea. You're going to leave the U.S. And that's why I know I can gather a sales force and get public companies to leave. And I think we can get 500 companies to leave within a year. And my goal would to be land a whale, meaning get an Elon Musk. Because Elon Musk's company, Tesla, is a worldwide company. What does the listing on the NASDAQ do for it? Nothing. It's the most heavily shorted stock in the world. Get away from it. You don't need them anymore. There's no reason. That's my goal. Get a real monster player that will really smack the industry in the face. That's what we're going to do. Like I said, we could build a financial news show to cover them, give them more exposure than the dummies on CNBC, who say the same thing every day, worthless. Bloomberg never covers any small companies. Nobody covers anything. Reuters, nobody. None of the financial news that cover it. And we're sick and tired of reporters that just keep blowing past the obvious thing that's going on here, the criminal activity by hedge funds, offshore people doing it. They're terrorists. Capybara is writing reports out of Brazil, destroying public companies. There's no name behind it. Don't you want to be the next Chanos or who's the guy from Pershing Square? Forgot his name. The big short seller. Don't you want to be the king? They don't show their faces because they know they're committing fraud. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Yeah, there's.
I can see that someone's pointing out there's been a big seller in GTII, 50,000, 30,000. For the new people joining us, GTII is a small company that we followed for a long time. This is different criminals. They're from Long Island, called the Kramers. They've been busted by the SEC numerous times. Have been given what is the order? What was the order given to these guys? William?
Cease and desist.
Yes, stop doing it. Stop doing the crimes. Oh yeah, sure, we won't do it anymore. They just keep incorporating. Right now, they were incorporated in New York, and they're afraid of a RICO charges because as an unregistered toxic lender, they have criminal offenses that could be charged to this RICO. So what do? They move their operations to Virginia. But the funny thing is, they're still living and operating out of Long Island. So they're still, as far as I'm concerned, regarded as New York. They don't live in Virginia. They're just operating out of Virginia, so that they don't have these I forget the term, the charges that could be charged with in Virginia versus New York, although they're already busted here. All right. So this is the game plan for the new people, that the reporter and the hopefully law enforcement on the call. We're going to expose the fraud. We're working as one. Everyone that is here, that has stayed, and it's hard to do, wants to expose this fraud. So Finger Motion is a company that, in my eyes, has great fundamentals, doesn't need the money, got past all the toxic lending, is going after the criminals, doing everything possible. And I do believe that this one is going to be the first one that goes over the wall first. Once we break one, we can pick and choose whatever's going to be number two. We have been following GTII for a couple of years now. We know the criminals. We know how big the short is. And the only way out of this mess is up. All right? Hold on 1 second, please.
I want to write that down. The only way out is up.
I just scolded the guy. He keeps calling me. And I says, hey, you want to come on the conference call and tell everybody who you are? No, call me later. So stop calling me. You know what I'm doing. Anyway, people, I'm sorry for the...
Is the only way in down?
No, the only way out of this mess is up.
Well, how about in? Is it down? No, anyway.
Anyway, that will be on my tombstone for Reuters. That'll be on my tombstone. The only way out of this is up. And the most important thing for law enforcement, I don't know if the reporter would understand this, is the same trading patterns, or it's like someone breaking into a bank. They use the same pattern. They use the same way. They climb through a window, whatever they do. I'm sure you guys know how they rob banks, whatever they do. It's the same pattern. You could probably tell it's the same guy who knows how to crack the safe, or whether it's an inside job, whatever it may be. The pattern of a naked short seller is the same every day. It's to flood the market with counterfeits as the stock is moving up, stop the upward momentum, and then drive it lower. That's what their pattern is. They want to take the momentum out. They want the investors to get disgusted about their position and move on and go try to find something else. We know these patterns. We report them every day. And in Finger Motion, we have exposed the criminals. We put their faces up on Twitter. We put their faces on the truck in front of the SEC. I've handed it to Secret Service. I handed it to the FBI, the SEC. We gave it to reporters. The only thing left for us to do is have someone at a sandwich board standing in front of their building, handing out signs that they're financial terrorists, which is going to happen. These guys are not getting away. We got plenty of people looking for work in New York. We can stand there giving them money and say, walk around and show everybody these criminals that operated in this building. Homeland Security should grab them because they're looting with the help of somebody offshore. Now, if it's a guy from Australia, and for those who are not familiar with it, one of Lynn Partners, those are the criminals out of New York, their partners or big funders or investors is from Australia. He was nice enough to blab in the Australian newspaper that his financial investments are doing great. His investment in Lynn Partners is up 220%. The funny part about that, every investment that Lynn Partners puts money with or invests with is basically destroyed, worthless. How are they up 220%? Every one of their investments are zero. Well, if you can't figure it out what they're doing here to make money, then I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, they're selling the stock shorts, killing them, and locking in these massive gains. Charlie Munger just passed away, and his return with Warren Buffett is 20%. And they said he was the king of returns. Well, not to me. Lynn Partners is the king, up 220%. Well, Buffett and Munger can only do 20%, excuse me. If you don't see the fraud there, like Bernie Madoff, it's standing right in front of you. We can't whistleblow any louder, any stronger. And the reason we follow these stocks is because the reward is off the charts. The best business plan on Wall Street is not building a new product, not saving a guy's life. Doesn't mean anything to Wall Street. A short squeeze is the biggest and most valuable business plan you can ever have. VVOS was a $5 stock 2 days ago, whatever it was. It went to $50. Every shareholder in that company who happened to be long that stock, who was lucky enough to own it, and when the stock ran, they just had a life-changing opportunity to pay off their house, to pay off their college school loans, whatever it may be, travel around the world. It was given to everyone in the company. Everyone made a fortune, except the short seller who was roasted alive and most likely out of business. Same thing happened to MINN, is that it? Yeah, Mary, Indian Nancy Mary. It was 90 cents, and today it went to $10. You know, it just changed the numbers. Make it $9 and then make it $100 in one day. That's how big it went. And that is a life-changing event. The company didn't do anything that was earth-shattering. You catch a short, they go broke, and that's what happens. GameStop should have changed everyone's life. It went from $4 to $550. If people were chasing it on the way up, shame on you. People that bought it at the bottom and sold it made millions of dollars. It's a life-changing event. GameStop was going out of business. The shorts thought they had it dead, and it turned on them, and they got eaten alive. The best business model ever. AMC was going bust. They raised millions and millions of dollars off of the short squeeze. That is the best business model ever. Finger Motion, who understands the short squeeze, filed a form. It's a Form 3, William? I blanked.
I thought you said it was Form 25. Or are you talking?
To leave the country about about putting that that they can raise money. I think it's a Form
S3, S3.
And S3, where they can actually raise a lot of money if the stock goes without going to Wall Street. They filed it with the SEC first. So if the stock does squeeze to the moon, they can always raise capital. If you do not file that form, when the stock goes crazy as a CEO of a public company, you can't raise money unless you go to Wall Street. So this is a way for a public company to get away from Wall Street and actually take advantage of a short squeeze. So the company is ahead of the criminals on this one. All right. So now they just wait for the stock to squeeze. When it does, let's say the stock runs to $500, and you could say to me, wow, this nut job just said the stock can go from 4 to 500. I think it can go from 4 to 5,000. I'm being conservative with you. Someone has sold 200 million shares, and there's only 24 million shares in the company. How do you buy it back? And they can buy it back, but it's going to be at very, very, very high prices. And the reason it's going to go to very, very high prices is because we all know that they're stuck, that they have to buy it back. So they can play the game, try to manipulate it back and forth, but this game is over in my eyes. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So for the Reuters woman, or man, whoever you are, I'm not sure, whoever's writing this story, you can mark it down. That Ham, the big mouth on Twitter, saying that this stock, based on the fundamentals and the data straight from FINRA, how big the crooks are in this, how crooks have oversold this stock to make this stock go higher than Volkswagen and become the #1 priciest short squeeze ever. And each day that goes on, it only gets better and stronger. All right. And after that, I do believe that GTI will have the same pattern as Finger Motion to the moon. And the best part about it is that the investors in Finger Motion all know about it, and we will come over and jump in and help out the GTI people. And if you think this is orchestrating a short squeeze or something like that, we're not orchestrating anything. We're just educating people on what the criminals are doing and the SEC is allowing to happen. All right? We're taking advantage of a loophole that the SEC has allowed the criminals to steal from. But this is very different than where they're stealing. When they sell a stock short at $5, the most they can make is $5. When you sell a stock at $5, the most they can lose is infinite. And that's what makes the short squeeze the #1 business opportunity ever. Forget about inventing anything. You don't need to do anything. Just trap the shorts. You could squeeze. If I was the CEO of the company, I would shut down my operations, do everything in my power to get everyone to buy the stock, screw the SEC, squeeze the stock, raise money, and then go out and raise $100 million and do like Warren Buffett does. I'm just going to buy Apple computer. Then no one can complain about what you're doing, where's your revenue coming, what's your growth. It doesn't make a difference at any point. You're doing the same thing as Warren Buffett does. No one needs to build anything. You don't get rewarded for building anything in this country. You get destroyed for it. It ruins your life. It takes years off the lives of CEOs, their families, their friends. They get destroyed. Imagine come up with an idea and you work 10 years and you go public with it and you just get destroyed and lose it all. That's Wall Street for you. That's what's going on. Any other questions, William? I think I'm going at a nice pace for you. Am I okay, or am I sound like
you're doing fine.
If you like me to get riled up, I can.
Who's the puppy dog?
That's my wife barking.
That she wouldn't like that. When
she's like, shut up, stop talking about it.
When Finger was uplisted to NASDAQ, it was supposed to recount the shares and cause a squeeze, but nothing happened. What would make GTII different?
You're telling me you think that the regulators and the exchange are going to help you? Is that what you're saying?
I guess. I don't know what.
Where did I ever say that?
Yeah.
There's zero help from the criminals. Zero. The criminals included the regulators. If you think I'm wrong to say that FINRA and the SEC, they should be thrown in jail with the short sellers for allowing them to continue, which is okay. I can understand allowing the criminals to continue, but at least tell the investors, do not play, and warn us that they cannot protect you. And there's a 99% chance they're going to get robbed. At least have the nerve to say that. Instead, they come out and say this is the most fair market. We do everything in our power. Gensler puts out a press release on Twitter every day and how wonderful him and the SEC is. We reported the crime. We put the truck in front of the SEC. And you're telling me there's not one counterfeit share in this stock? Not one? So either shut us up or do something.
Did you give up on Kodak fighting naked shorts?
No, I did not. I always loved Kodak, and I think it's one of the greatest. If out of all the companies, you have a company that was a New York Stock Exchange company that's down to $3.65. It had a squeeze to 60, and there's an opportunity that if someone would get behind it from the government, can turn around and save all the people from Rochester. Can you imagine if people owned the stock that never gave up on it, that worked for the company for years? It was the city of Rochester. And they don't even care that a city, all right, that's dependent on big companies supporting these small cities. You know, Amazon's not moving to Rochester. Apple doesn't have a store, a headquarters in Rochester. Kodak did, and they destroyed the whole thing. All right, think about saving the city of Rochester. They don't even care. If people leave the city of Rochester because they don't have jobs, what happens? Criminal element moves in, homeless people move in, the storefronts are closed, and it just unwinds. It becomes a death spiral. Rochester. It's very different because Rochester is closely tied to the city. None of these other companies that I know of are tied to the cities. So I do really believe in Kodak. I can't move that by myself. I just can't do it. You need Hercules to do that one.
Herc. Has any other company moved to another exchange using this Form 24, Form 25, whatever it is?
Companies don't leave because they're all afraid they're going to go to a foreign land. The U.S. is the place to be. This is the U.S. of A, the greatest country in the world. Well, why would I go list somewhere else? Right? Yeah. This is the greatest country in the world. All those Chinese companies came here to list in the U.S. So, if 200 Chinese companies came here to list, brought here by U.S. bankers to list, they all got destroyed to zeros. So those guys gave it all. Instead of blaming the short sellers, everyone blamed the Chinese public companies. Oh, they're all a scam. Everybody's a scam. They're all a scam. They just stole our money. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure some of them were. But if there's 200 that listed here and 195 are all worthless, I doubt that they all did the same thing. Just like they write about GTII, it's a scam. Finger motion, it's a scam. It's a pump and dump. They write about it all the time. That's the classic promotion by the short sellers. Everybody's a scam. It's a pump and dump. Meanwhile, the companies have to report everything to the SEC. Do one thing wrong, sell one unregistered share, and they go to jail. Lynn Partners and their offshore terrorists have sold 200 million counterfeit shares. And let's say an average price is $5. That is a $1 billion crime. It's not someone with a bag of fake 20s. It's $1 billion of U.S. money that was taken out of the country.
Without paying taxes.
Nothing, just looted.
But hey, what's another trillion?
And that's the crime that I presented to the Secret Service and to the FBI. I showed it all. And they're going to come, and they're going to get them. All right? Law enforcement moves slow. It's unfortunate. I can't speed that up. And like they told me, they're here for one reason. They're here there's no civil fines when they knock on the door. You're going to jail. All right? So if Lynn Partners thinks that this is going to get away from them and that it's being done away and they're not the ones doing it, they're full of shit, because there's no way you can generate 220% returns. If you did generate 220% returns, your face will be all over the Wall Street Journal, and Buffett's place will be wherever your stupid face is. All right? These guys are showing returns that no one can do. These are returns like Bernie, what's his name? Madoff. These are all fake returns. They're stealing money. They're destroying public companies, taking the money that they get from innocent shareholders and just looting the companies. The CEOs are destroyed, and that's what happens. The whole country's in a debt spiral, and no one stops it. And I'm not telling you to invest in any stock. That's your business. But I am telling you that if you don't understand this thing, you're going to get robbed. It's going to get you one way or the other. And the worst way it's going to get you, that if you have a health problem and you need to go get a special treatment for whatever it may be, and the company that was working on that has shut down because they were underfunded or destroyed by naked short sellers. And you say, well, come on, that can't be true. Charlie, Eddie, Larry, Uncle, they were a spinoff from Biogen, a major NASDAQ company. Stock got destroyed by their toxic lenders, Yorkville. Charlie, Eddie, Larry, Uncle, I met with them. Brilliant. The head guy was a neurosurgeon in a trauma center in New York City. Doesn't sound like he's a fraud, right? Neurosurgeon. What does he know about the equity markets? Well, guess what? He knows nothing about it. He knows how to produce or develop things that can help infectious diseases. That's what he was working on. That's what he's an expert on. Don't you think we need somebody like that to actually work on cures to help sick people? Well, Wall Street doesn't think so, so they killed it. It's 21 cents. Destroyed. Their market cap has been destroyed because of the funding at these low levels. That's the game. That's just one. I could go through 50 of them. They destroy everything. Could care less what they do. And if they can care less what they do, then why do anything is what I say. Do nothing. What are they going to say? You're doing nothing? Well, we tell you we do nothing. Why should we do anything? We don't get any rewards when our company comes out with good news. SENS. Got approval for a diabetes treatment, a drug, whatever it may be. I don't know what it is. Straight down. This guy's been talking to me about it for a long time. He can't believe it. I don't remember what BLUE was. It's another biotech. But that stock has been destroyed also. I can't remember what they did, but I know it's been heavily naked shorted. I have it saved.
So I guess all of these CEOs and scientists and engineers, they're just all crap. And Wall Street knows it, so they need to wipe them out to save us from ourselves.
That's what it looks like today. They are playing Julius Caesar. So when they see your company, William, they look at William and say, William, thumbs down. We don't like him. Give him the thumbs down. Kill him. That's what they do. Now, I don't know what's going on in TTII, but I just look at it. There was 50-something thousand offered at 53 cents. That is 100,000 to buy at 51.06. That is the short when you see these odd numbers. So for the reporter and law enforcement, if you hit a quote up on George, Tom, Indian, it's 51 cents, 51.06 cents. Now, I don't know what the 06 means. I don't know how you get change of that. If I give you 52 cents, what is the difference and how do I get change and what currency is that in? I don't even know what that is. But the only people who can make markets like that are the criminals. So the criminals are trying to buy and the criminals are on the selling side also. So I expect that 191, you're going to see a big trade soon of 100,000 shares. That number is going to go to 291 or 300,000 in volume. And all they're doing is selling stock back and forth to each other to buy more settlement time. And you say, what does that mean? All they're doing is kiting a check. When you write a check and you put it in a bank and you kite it, keep trying to keep the thing going, keep the banks chasing these checks, that's what they're doing. All right? They're doing it with stocks. And that's just another part of the game.
Hoboken Sal asks, he's just playing devil's advocate. Why hasn't the
My daughter was just in Hoboken. Did you steal my daughter's license plate, Hoboken Sal? Because it's a pain in the ass to get a new fare.
Why hasn't the media, CNN, NBC, as CBS reported on this, quote, massive naked short selling corruption, unquote? Wouldn't this be award-winning reporting? He's just playing devil's advocate because he's, he's sharper. None of us have thought about this, of course.
We all agree with you. We've tried. If you just look at Matt Levine from Bloomberg, he did a story in 2000.
You're fading a bit. You're going in and out.
How about now?
Yeah, better.
All right, so I got to speak.
So he's saying he was raised there, but he hasn't lived there in years, so it wasn't him. He didn't steal.
Anyway, I'm just checking. I got to make sure. I got to ask everybody. Reporters, I think their editors, someone shoots them down all the time. I don't understand why. It's a great question.
There are no reporters. And one of the main thing is BlackRock controls the big 6 or 7 media outlets. There's only 6 or 7. So anyway.
Someone just posted to me, GameStop today traded 61 million shares, over 17 times its average daily volume, and was the same price in the last minute of trading as the first minute. Market makers, synthetic shares, FTDs are a scam on the world of investors. They take your earned money and give you an IOU. I don't know who this guy is. It's Ken Malone at Malone_wealth. He posted it on Twitter. The more people that say that and see that, the more it's going to end. That's it. That's all you can see. You can tell if it's down $1.
That's like the woman that was on your call the other night, Whiskey something. She's just shocked after a lifetime of savings that her retirement accounts are all fraud. And whoever this reporter is you're talking to may or may not get the idea, but there will be a reporter out there that makes her career by being the one that brings this message to women in particular all over America. They don't listen to white
everybody. Everyone is getting robbed. They're robbing you.
Yeah, that's
they rob
right.
Your pension.
And it's all gonna fall over. The whole market is gonna fall over.
Every time you put in the end of the month, they take it out of your paycheck and you send in your $200. 10% of that is stolen immediately by the criminals, and they just take the balance. Every month they just keep taking from you. That's it. And you keep saying, "Oh, but I'm up 10% this year." Well, if they weren't doing that, you would have been up 20 or 30%. Imagine retiring instead of having $100,000 in your pension account, having $500,000. But that difference has been, instead you'll get the 100, the other 400 is going to the criminals. And do that by every American in the country. That's how big the crime is.
This person is suggesting that you highlight that Kurt Kramer and Seth Kramer were identified as bad actors. I think it might have just been Kurt. And was it the DTC? I think it was the NSCC who identified them that they had a concentrated short position at Alpine in GTII.
Yes, in GTII, the stock went up for the reporter and our new friend. The stock was 60 cents. It went to $9. On that move to $9, every red light on Wall Street should be going off, because if anyone was betting against it, wanting it to go down, they are taking a bloodbath. Okay, because the stock went up to $9. If you sold it at 60 cents and buy it back at $9, you're losing $8.40 per share. So these guys have done that, and every red light was going off. What happened? They did not meet the margin requirements. The depository trust busted the prime broker for allowing this, and has gone after them in legal and court documents to shut them down, because the prime broker is a gateway for these criminals. You need them to be part of the crime. They're the gatekeeper, and when they look the other way, that's when bad things happen. And that's what Alpine, the prime broker, was doing to GTII. How many other stocks did they do it to? I can only assume hundreds. And that is a brokerage firm, Alpine. The wife owned a brokerage firm in Scottsdale, and I think there's another firm that's tied to them. They've been robbing people. We have a gentleman, Richard, it's not legal advice, has done videos on Alpine, and he's described them as complete scumbags. He said they make scumbags. What was the word? How do you do it? You described it. They make scumbags look good. I mean, that's how bad these guys are. So, I mean, for someone that doesn't even know anything about it, that just picked up on the whole fraud, he couldn't believe it how bad these guys are. Their list of crimes, they're like Hell's Angels out here. They're just robbing everybody. They couldn't care less. They're like a motorcycle gang. Or the Mexican drug cartel, whatever you want to call them. I do believe, for the reporter and the police on the phone, that everyone who is a criminal operator should stop doing their criminal activities. Do not sell counterfeit handbags. Do not rob banks. Do not pass fake 20s. Do not rob anybody, steal a pocketbook.
Don't be a drug dealer.
Don't be a drug dealer. Don't be a mafia enforcement, whatever they do. Stop all that. Just go grab a naked short seller, throw them in your car, teach them how to teach, let them teach you how to do it, and you can steal all you want. Why? It's the best crime in history. You don't even need any money. Just start selling. Go figure it out. Don't do any crime. You don't go to jail. There's no jail time. Steal $1 billion, pay back $20 million. That's the best business model ever. And there you go.
There's a new SEC rule 192. Do you know anything about it? It adds protection.
It's the new rule. 191 was the old rule. 192 is the new rule. That's about all I know about that. I'm sorry, I do not know.
He says it adds protection to high hedge funds and market makers for their taking risk, to offset the risk they take. I don't know either.
Oh, so they're actually protecting them more?
Yeah, they need more protection.
They need more protection. I have to go read about that now. So again, there's another loophole they created to protect the market makers who are killing us already, to protect them more. So now they're giving them they had a gun before. Now they're giving them a machine gun, is what they did, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Why is Bragg, B-R-A-G, a Lynn Partners Beauty. Why hasn't it gone down?
Lynn Partners, if you go back 3 months ago for law enforcement and Reuters, I will give you the exact thing. If you just give me a second here, William. I know you're putting a lot of pressure on me. Hold on, I can't only move so fast. Give me 1 second. So Lynn Partners invested in this company. I just lost track. I can't remember the amount. Does anyone remember the loan that they gave him?
It was 5 or 10 million, you said? I don't know.
So this stock, I was following it for a long time. There was no volume. The most volume they ever had was 50,000, 80,000. And then I think it was, let me see, July or whatever. Give me 1 second. I think it was July. So I'm giving you typical days. May 24th, 7,800 shares. That was the volume on the day. 3,000, 2,000. And then all of a sudden, on one day, it went from $4 to $4.74. Now remember, this stock is trading 3,000 shares a day. It went up 30 cents. Actually closed up a quarter on the day. The day before was 14,000 shares. The next day, it traded 740,000 shares. All right? And you said to me, well, what the hell does that mean? Well, think about it. If Lynn Partners happened to find a crooked money manager and paid them some money and said, hey, man, can you buy 500,000 shares of this stock? You know, $4. And Lynn Partners sells it into them. Lynn Partners then is getting money off the table, a lot of money off the table. And that is what you call a payoff. And if you look at it, the stock had one more big day recently. It's always in the same spot. And remember, it goes back to these same days, 30,000. So on November 17th, it traded 6,000 shares. The next day, it traded 39,000, then 12,000, and then 450,000, all within a 10-cent range. Again. And now it's back doing nothing again. These are days where money managers who know Lynn Partners probably have arranged to do some sort of buying, and they buy the stock. In return, the money manager buys the stock. Now, I don't want to say I know this for a fact, okay? Not that I read it in another police filing somewhere else, all right? But what if the guy who has the debenture pays the money manager, okay, $1 per share for every share that they buy? Remember, Lynn is going to get these shares when they want to convert, probably pennies. So why not give someone $1 in cash overseas in Switzerland? If you buy 500,000 shares, I will give you $500,000 in cash in Switzerland in a brown bag. The money manager is defrauding his own fund, right? Owning the stock. And now he has 500,000 in cash in his pocket. Now, if you think that doesn't happen, I'm not saying it does. But boy, did I read that a bunch of places. That's what does happen. Looks like they did. That's what it looks like they did in that stock. To me, okay? I don't have any proof of it. I'm sure if someone dug into it, law enforcement, you would say, oh my God, these guys are selling it to the same persons, buying all the shares. What's the relationship here? All right. I'll give you an example of a story I heard many years ago. A naked short seller went to a hedge fund. He wanted the guy to buy 40 or 50 million shares of a company. The fund manager was up a lot of money that year. So he convinced the guy to take this stock on, pay him the cash. And if it went to zero, the fund manager would sit there and say, well, if I'm up, I only get 10% of what I made. So imagine just, getting, making myself $5 million in cash on a trade. If I lose the $5 million, what do I care? So instead of getting 10%, I'll get, 8%, but I'll make more money getting the cash payment. And he did, the money manager accepted that transaction. The only thing is that the guy was the FBI, and the hedge fund got busted for it. And that was in writing. So again, these things happen. So for a stock that never trades, all of a sudden trades 500,000 shares, and it doesn't go up, that means that the other one side knows the other side. Those are prearranged trades. Someone was waiting in the bushes for someone to buy that stock, correct? Think about that. You have 500,000 shares to sell, and someone just has 500,000 to buy. Think about that. Right on time. They both met each other the same day at the same price.
That's not manipulation.
That is 100% complete fraud. The industry allows this stuff to continue. They catch them. It's easy to see the fake trades when they do it. Just like they're going to do in GTII. There's big bids, big offers, back and forth. Look at the difference in the spread. Okay, for anybody, law enforcement reporters here, people are in the market to make money on these transactions. If I owned in GTII, if I owned 12,896 shares and I wanted to sell it, the market in the stock is 5106 bid for 100,000 shares. The offer is 5144. It's not even a full penny. If you wanted to sell it, William, would you offer it at 5144 with the risk of missing your sale?
I need that extra 0.0044.
Whatever it is, or just hit the bid.
I would just hit the bid.
That shows you both sides of this transaction are the criminals. Both sides.
And they're prearranged.
That is 100% correct. That's all you need to know. GTII, the short is bidding and the short is offering. Because if it was a real market and I own 12,896 shares, why would I be in the rush to sell it at 5106 when I know there's 100 to buy? If I'm going to do it, I might as well move up to 55 cents and make another 4 pennies on it. All right? At least I can make some money on it. But there's no fear because they know each other. Those are signs you have to look for. And there's nothing more of a classic. If someone wants to take a photo of that and put it up on Twitter, that is a classic. The short, by the short, it's right there. In GTII, right now, 3:14 Eastern time. Eastern Standard Time, whatever you want to call it. All right, so that's your GTI story today. Finger motion, I told you, finger motion's going first through the gateway, whether we like it or not. I hope finger motion explodes first and gives us an opportunity to really pile into GTII. Because if they hold GTI down here while finger is going, the payday will be 100 times better. And you can see it in other names. DVOS, again, I don't like to bring up things that I don't own. I don't want to torture you, but you need to learn about how they work. It went to 50, you sell the rip. If you want to buy back in, you buy it now when it's down 14 points. Maybe it bounces back up again.
Do you have level 2?
No, I don't watch it.
This guy says on level 2, there's I can't believe it, 10 million buy order on GTII. I don't maybe.
No, it's 100,000.
It says 10M.
Well, if there's 10 million to buy on GTII and someone is selling their stock at 5144, 12,000, they don't know about it. That's for sure.
Lind is short selling.
If someone ever sees an order for 10 million to buy, trust me, everyone on Wall Street will run in front of them.
Lind is selling the innards out of BABYF. BAB.
What's the symbol?
Boy, apple, boy, yellow, Frank. Else
Baby
Nutrition. Babby F. Just one B.
Yeah, that's it. Why not? What do? They help people with, I don't know what the hell they do.
It says Else Nutrition. I don't know what.
Yeah, then what are they doing? Either they're poisoning you or they're trying to help you. Which one is it? I don't know. Based on the stock price, it looks like they're poisoning you. Right? So the next thing that's going to happen is this company will have to reverse after they kill it down far enough. It'll reverse, kill all the investors, and start over again, and they'll reshort it again. It's the rinse and repeat, steal, destroy, build it back up again. Public companies have no choice, and that's what happens. They're held hostage.
Well, I have found this an amazingly informative call.
Is it because I'm speaking slow?
Yes.
Yes or no?
And it's the first time I've listened.
What did they say? What is all this noise coming out of people?
Hoboken Sal's trying to let you know something you didn't know. Hoboken was the hometown of Frank Sinatra.
We knew that.
Well, anyway, he wanted you to know.
Isn't that where Jersey Boys is from also? I can't remember. Frankie Valley, was it Hoboken or Jersey City? I forgot where.
Yeah.
All those gangsters in Hoboken, I better stay away from that place. Sounds like a rough town.
There were a few
Everybody's
guys.
on the corner. Everyone's on the corner singing. Frank Sinatra. Everyone.
Francis.
Well, that's going to be our theme song when Lynn finally breaks here and goes to jail. We're going to fly us to the moon. That's what it's going to be in Finland.
Hoboken Sal's in his mid-70s, and his wife and all of her friends are still talking about Frank. I added some color to that. He said they are still talking about him.
Well, my mom loved Frank Sinatra, so I'm with you. I heard him every day of my life.
Frankie Valley was from Newark.
Oh, Newark, okay. Same shithole, right, Joe?
Chris Christie was from New Jersey.
He ate New Jersey, that fat bastard. Excuse my French. So for the reporter and the agent that's on the phone, there's a naked short seller with savvy asset management. People knew for 3 years before he was busted by the SEC. There was a petition to have him taken down 3 years before. So over 6,000 people signed it. And it's taken years to get him. He walked away, paid a couple $1 million fine. He had a naked short selling scheme that was in his charge by the SEC, a scheme. But he also, just before he got caught, he bought a $10 million condo in Fisher Island and down in Miami Beach for $10 million. That means this guy's got $50 million in the bank to support a $10 million condo. And then all law enforcement has to do is say, where did you get the money to do that? He stole it all. And I don't know why no one's ever questioned him on it. But if you want, that's a case. I don't know the fat bastard. He's right there all the time. His name is Hal Mintz, M-I-N-M-I-N-T-Z, excuse me. But he's been busted by the SEC for security fraud violations, to naked short selling, and it's called a scheme. So he was scheming to loot everybody's money. He didn't do it by mistake. He was scheming to do this. And they still allowed this guy to walk away by a $10 million condo. I don't know how, but that's what they did.
Scheming.
Lynn Partners is running an office out of Madison Avenue. You signed the paperwork, and all the trades are done from offshore. And they say it's not them. So in GTII, it was 5106 bid for 100,000. The offer is still the same, 5144.
It's a 10K offer.
Someone jumped in front of the 5106 bid for 1,000 shares at 5107. So the spread is getting closer. Whatever that spread is, the spread of the numbers that are there, you can't even get change from that spread. So these numbers are completely make-believe numbers here.
Doesn't a company need to have a minimum market cap to get on the South Korea exchange?
We're going to go find that out. That's a great question. We're going to call it a venture, the venture arm of the South Korean exchange. And you don't want to know something? If a company had to reverse to meet that qualification, right? If you reversed and left the country, a reverse can be a good thing if it wasn't re-shorted back down again. But since you do reverse it in the US, they just restart shorting you at a higher level. So over here, it's dangerous. Maybe it's a good thing to do overseas to make sure you meet the qualifications. I don't know. I don't know what the qualifications are. That's why me and William are going to sit down.
And I'm sure it's negotiable if it's a big enough opportunity. Rick L., who has a wall of monitors, at least 8 of them, maybe 9 of them. He trades all day. He says to me, William, today is the first time in 10 months, the 10 months that I've been here, that I actually understood ham 100%. I guess you grow on people.
I'm the worst teacher in creation. That means 10 months. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I'm trying my best. I never said I was a teacher.
UBS just reported almost $1 billion loss, 785 million.
Yeah, what's the stock going up? Sure it is.
Yeah, it's going to be
up
bailed
74
out.
cents. Finger Motion got destroyed 3 points by a fake Kappa Barrel report that their revenues were down 40%. Meanwhile, it was up 80%. They got destroyed. UBS lost how much money?
Satvik, they lost 784 million.
They lost 700. They almost lost $1 billion, and the stock goes up.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Satvik Sharaya Singh says all of our efforts hit the Jarumba wall, just like Patrick had said they would. Well, there's no question we're up against organized crime in the financial markets. So
no, listen, whoever just made that comment, you should sell your stock and move along. Why would you even listen? Move along. I got it. I believe me, I'm the first person to tell you. This is a pain in the ass. I've been doing it 24 years, longer than Patrick Byrne. Patrick Byrne came in with his family's money. His father owned a Geico, and he sold it to Warren Buffett. My father was a garbage man, and my mother was a secretary. Right? Very different for me to fight back against naked shorts when Patrick Byrne had his dad's money and he knew Warren Buffett. Okay, it's a little different. All right? So again, think about that. He threw all his money, hired reporters, he did that. We've been fighting in the streets for 24 years. So if you tell me you want to know where the fighters are, you make that determination on who the fighters are. I have no money to throw at this. Zero. I threw everything in my heart and soul into this thing to fight back and to save you. And if I can save you, I don't care if you don't invest. You should never invest if I can't save you. All right? That's the one lesson you learned. You said we can never win? Then pack up and get the hell away from it. That's a great move. I'm with it. Go for it. I can't stop it because I can't stop. I was told you see a crime, you report it and fight back. That's the way I was taught. If you weren't taught to do that, absolutely move along. Go put your head like a turtle, put it into your shell, and get lost. That's the way I look at it. And I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not insulting you. But we don't have time to hear bullshit that we're not going to win. We don't believe in that.
It's like your dad always said, garbage in, garbage out. I don't know if he ever said that.
He never said that. My father went from garbage to the racetrack. He got on slow horses.
Was it Alpine that had 34,000 violations and was told to stop, but they're still stealing millions from investors?
I don't know if they're still doing stuff through Alpine. I do believe that they're probably operating under different LLCs. We put the schematic of all their LLCs up there. Anybody can you can see them all. I don't know how many LLCs the average person has. I think me and my family, I think we have about 75. Oh, wait, we just opened another one up.
Everybody
just
should.
Opened up another one. This dog LLC, this firehouse LLC, whatever you want to say. Just what's the difference? Another $300. Open up another one. Anyone has that many LLCs, they're doing something. They're doing a shell game. They're trying to hide their assets. Me and Richard, not legal advice. We discussed this many times. Alpine is fighting the crime to do what? They're hiding assets, get some time away, moving things away so that people don't investigate whatever they're doing. They're buying time. You know what's funny, William? We talked about it before, a long time ago. When we were fighting in GTII, the Kramer's law firm was Gibson Dunn.
Yeah.
I forgot how we put the tip off about that. I can't remember how.
Yeah.
Gibson Dunn was sending cease and desist orders to people posting on Twitter. Don't talk about our client, Gibson Dunn, very famous law firm.
They're on both sides of the issue.
They are protecting criminals, taking whatever money they can, trying to keep them alive, keeping them going. I think Mark Brazil said today that some other company that he knew was also represented by Gibson Dunn.
Just
so Gibson Dunn is renting a lot. Rent is protecting a lot of these toxic lenders for money.
All right. One guy, I think he doesn't understand what's going on. Couldn't Finger just pay shares dividend, like 2 shares for every one? That would be completely helpful to the shorts, but I guess maybe Finger could do something that would catch out the shorts. That wouldn't be it. Issuing 2 shares for every one, they would go hallelujah.
We sent the message that they should do a dividend a long time ago. When they do it, they do it. We don't work for the company. I can't make the term. I'm not a board of director. They have to vote on it. They have to get approvals. That's their business. I can't.
I mean, I guess if you did it through the transfer agent and it had to be real.
Just think about what you're saying.
I guess it could work.
Just think about what you're saying, whoever that gentleman is, a woman. The company has to do something to get rid of the criminals off their tail, right? Look at what you have to do. Where's the regulators?
Exactly.
Why does the company have to go spend money on legal advice?
Exactly.
What are you doing? Oh, we're just going to try to do a dividend. Why are you doing this dividend? Because we're trying to get rid of the naked shorts on our stock. Oh, why do you want to do that to such nice people? That's what's going on here. Public companies have to do everything to fight back. You got to go to courts. Look how they fight in courts. They don't want discovery at all costs.
NASDAQ, over-the-counter, FINRA, SEC, they're not there to help retail or the companies. They're just there protecting the criminals. It's an odd setup, but it's going to end in tears. That's what it's going to do. It's going to end in tears. This person says it's so blatant now, it's like they have no fear.
I just put a tweet on Twitter. Discovery kills the crooks. That's the whole thing. If you can get I just put the diagram up there. That diagram is the killer. That's it. That's the silver bullet. Expose what they have, the numbers that they're hiding, and that's the game. I don't give a shit who's doing it. We just need to know what each brokerage firm owns in a given name, and then check the position at the DTC. For example, I'm going to say it in very slow motion for everyone. The depository trust holds all the physical shares for a public company. So if a company has one, how would I write down here? But there's I forget what the DTC owns. Hold on a second. So let's say the DTC has 100,000 shares of one public company. That's it. Goldman Sachs will hit a button to see how many shares they own internally. Let's say Goldman Sachs says, well, we own 1 million shares. The DTC says to them, well, we only have 100,000 shares here. That means Goldman Sachs has 900,000 counterfeits. That's the disconnect. That's the number we need. That's it. But you have to kill people to get Goldman Sachs to give you that number, or E-Trade, or Fidelity, or Schwab. They will do everything to lie, and everyone is finding out because GTI was nice enough to give out a dividend, and they won't tell you anyone about their dividends. You can't get them. Why? It's so easy. Everybody's been giving out dividends for 100 years. Because the dividends, when you have too many shareholders, there's not enough dividends to give around. That's what happens. Now the brokerage firms have to make a decision to put more security fraud and make up our own counterfeit shares. That's what's going on. And if they ever get busted, where West Christian can actually break through and catch them giving us a fake dividend share, E-Trade, Ameritrade, then GTII will become E-Trade, Ameritrade, because they get all the money in the world. You can sue them for billions of dollars. That's what's at stake here. And why anybody would allow anybody to do this, to risk their whole company, is insane. But that's what they're doing. That's no crime. Just put it in a circle. There you go. That's it. Those numbers need to match. Those numbers do not match. And because they do not match, they do everything to hide it from us. Any other questions? I think I'm answering them all now.
I think you're answering everything.
Look at this quote. Mark Bazile just said, Finvest fined Bank of America Securities $24 million for engaging more than 700 instances of spoofing to 2 former traders in the U.S. Treasury secondary market and related supervisory failures spanning more than 6 years.
How many? 200 million? So what's the fine? 2 million?
They fined them $24 million, more than 700 times for spoofing. Spoofing undermines the transparency, integrity of the markets by distorting the true nature of supply and demand.
It happens in the Treasury market too, and imagine
Spoofing
that.
is especially detrimental in the U.S. Treasury securities market. Wow. Given its status as a benchmark for countless financial instruments and transactions. No shit, Mr. Bill Lewis. The people that did this belong in jail. Do you understand what I just said?
I'm just looking at the headlines. In September of last year, FINRA fined Bank of America $5 million for over-the-counter irregularities. I'm just reading the headline. FINRA fines Maryland $6 million in July of this year. But I guess, it's just a speeding ticket.
Right.
Oh, it's the SEC crows about it. 717 instances of spoofing, but how much damage did it do, and how big were the trades?
They don't say anything about it.
They don't say. So it sounds like a big deal, but if those were billions or trillions of dollars worth of trades.
I put the Secret Service, lock these bums up. They're destroying the USA. It's right here. What do you want me to tell you?
So they paid $33,000 per instance, but
right.
Who knows the size of each instance?
No one knows. What's the damage?
Who got hurt? And it's 6 years. Why did it take them this long to notice it? And then they say Bank of America Securities didn't have a supervisory system which was designed to detect spoofing in U.S. Treasury markets.
How much money does Bank of America have?
A lot less.
Well, obviously, if we could figure it out, we could see spoofing. They could see it. They just don't look.
The firm failed to have a supervisory system until November 2015, and that system was only designed to detect spoofing by algorithms, not by manual spoofing by traders.
The trade is putting up these big bids, and then people go in and run in to buy it because they see the big buyer, and they sell it to them. Then they cancel the bids. That's what they do.
Bank of America consented to the findings without admitting or denying the charges. That sounds like Kurt Kramer.
Right. So on GTII, I just got to give everybody an update. This is a fast trading stock now. There's a 5104 bid for 100,000. Someone jumped into 5106 for 1,000 shares. There's 12,000 offered at 5144. The market right now, with no trades, is 5107. So someone moved up 1,000 shares, one tick higher, whatever that is, and now someone offered it 1,000 shares, 1/10 of a penny lower. So the market now is 5107 to 5143. Before, the market was 5104 to 5144. So the spread has even gotten tighter. I don't think we can fit a piece of paper between these two numbers. This is all fraud on both sides. That's what you're saying. So just watch it, memorize, but that's what I do. Memorize the numbers and you can see what's going on. Am I helping everybody, or am I still drifting? And
you're helping everyone. Don't get us started on pathetic fines. GDC shorts putting offers of 1 share, giving me a laugh.
Is that all we got? That's it?
Somebody removed a post before I read it. I don't know. I don't know how anything works on these things. Yeah. Oh, it is 100,000. Yeah. He tried to correct it. Yeah. Sorry. It didn't remove. This is a good point Keith makes. You steal from all of us because we're diffuse. If we're 20 million people, if one of us tries to fight back, we don't have enough money. But if you're Merrill Lynch or you're Citadel, you got the money, you got the lawyers, you got the power, you got the congressman in your pocket, and you've got Gary Gensler waddling around Congress thinking he's the next coming of Caesar, and you got him in your pocket.
I don't understand how anybody allows it. But like I said, if you don't fight back, find someone that will fight for you, do something, and then you just gotta stay away from the market. I'm not trying to insult anybody. Someone wrote about this. Someone wrote that DBOS has 1.2 million shares total. Repeat, 1.2 million shares total outstanding float. It's traded 46.4 million yesterday. How does DBOS trade 46 times the float in one day?
I don't know which company this guy's talking about, saying we're hoping for a solution board before Christmas. I think it's a tall order in MMTLP if that's what you're talking about, but I don't know. Let me see. I don't know. I guess the SEC took down their own article on short selling, or FINRA did, according to this one post. This is true. This gentleman points out, just look at the bank and hedge funds who have hundreds of billions of dollars in securities sold, not yet purchased. Yeah.
Well, again, we know what it is. We tried everything to help out. And we're not going away. So again, I don't know what else to say. I tried to repeat, go back in time as fast forward as I can. I'm sorry. I tried to talk slow so everybody can understand. I'm glad somebody got something out of it today. That's all I look for. One person a day. You know, that's a lot of people after a couple of years. You'll get the feeling of what's going on.
Well, what do you think over a series of years? What are the chances that these traders spoofed 700 times in the treasury market over several years?
I said 700 times in DTII and finger motion.
They do 700 times a day.
Every day we used to see big orders, this, that side, this side, big. Whenever they put a big sell order, they jump in front of it. They do it all the time. I'm just watching GTII, the bid and the offer. What are they doing? Who's sitting here moving these things, these bids, this little amount? You're out of your bird sitting here doing this all day. There's no professional trader would waste their time doing this all day.
Oh, I don't feel like this is a waste of time. Just day in, day out. It goes on. I mean, I wonder if the reporter is still going on, but what we need is a Woodstein, a Bob Woodward, or a Carl Bernstein that actually cares about this issue and sees it as a threat to the United States financial system. But otherwise, you can just fade into the mediocrity of journalism today and do nothing.
No, again, listen, you just, yesterday, this stock yesterday, this MINM was 90 cents to 940 overnight. I mean, that's what this is about. We're looking for that excitement. That's what we're looking to do. If you know about these stocks, tell us. You know how hard it is to go find one? It's like finding a needle in a haystack. You know, that's what... This Pete from Philly is too much. He's got a picture of Ken Griffith as a tiny cat, and what's his name, Gasparino, and the cat's telling him, "Scoop my shit." The guy's such a hack, that Gasparino. Just hang it up already.
He's just a gas bag.
He's a disgrace, and I love it that Pete keeps. I don't remember all the Gasparino stuff because I stopped following him years ago. But, obviously he knows what he did. He was pushing Robin Hood. He was doing this. And then he's yelling at everybody else. And he's attacking people in AMC for losing money, for being, getting caught up in this thing. The SEC is the one that allowed short squeeze. They were always afraid. That was one of the things they didn't want to happen. Because a short squeeze does catch long investors jumping into a name by accident. The enthusiasm of a stock going, they jump into it, and they do this all the time. Right.
Mark Bazile Esquire is asking you, what do you think of NASDAQ posting the article that they did on their website of the three issuers going after naked short selling, and then poof, they took it off. They took it down from their site.
They took it down. Right? I mean, why? What's the... I've had stories from the DTC where they say, "Oh, everything's working fine. You guys are crazy." That was the DTC saying that. That was from 2006.
Yeah, well, what do you think about it? That they would post it and then take it down. What does it mean? Does that mean that there was pressure from the criminals to not post it? Or, I mean, why would they take it down?
I don't know. They're afraid there's liability.
Yeah, they're all lawyers. That's a pretty good one there, Buck.
No more questions? Let's go. Let's pick up the pace. We're all falling asleep here.
Mark wants to know if you have any requests because he wants to play on his guitar. No, he didn't say that.
Yes.
He didn't say that.
I think he's a Jimi Hendrix. I love Jimi Hendrix. So
well, he plays with the guitar upside down because he's left-handed.
Again, we heard he plays the male organ. I don't want to say it.
Oh, don't say that. God. Don't say that.
If anyone could reach out to Mark Fazil, maybe give us an update on what happened with Capybara. I think they were responding on November 27th. I have no idea what happened. I just didn't have time to follow up on how he brought up his name. That we need to somehow figure out what's going on with that, what happened with Capybara, and did they reply to the lawsuit? Or did, I don't know what happens to Benzinga. They need to do the same thing.
Well, I guess if Mark wants to type something, he will. But my guess is you wouldn't be able to discuss that on an open channel. But I don't know.
No, that's up to him. There has to be an update. So if he get an update from somebody, we all want to know. I have no idea what's going on with Benzinger.
Here's his answer from Attorney Bazile. The court, on its own initiative, has given them until December 13th. And if they don't respond, judgment will be entered. Dun, 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 dun.
Why would the court give them more time?
When you hang a man, you better look at him. I guess they're gonna. I guess my guess is you give more time so that, I hate the term, in the abundance of caution, so that if it goes to appeal, it doesn't get kicked out, I guess. I don't know.
My next question for Mark would be...
Oh, his answer is because they're an out-of-the-country entity. That's why. That makes sense. Time to serve. Time to serve.
My next question would be, what is the... I guess we won't even know until it happens. I guess we have to wait till they respond. Did he actually get the names of the individuals? You can just say yes or no. The names of the individuals that are behind Capybara. Do we have those names of the people, or can we expose them for that, or whether they are? Is he at liberty to tell us? I don't know.
Who owns the 200 million counterfeit shares of Finger? I would say it's we. His answer is, and you have a 50-50 chance. Well, no, I guess there's three answers. So you can, you're a betting man. Make a guess what his answer is.
Yes, he has the names.
Yes, you're right. You win.
I win what?
I don't know what you win.
I'll take anything. I've lost everything. So.
You get 100 hours of his legal time for free. I mean, $100 worth of his legal time for free.
Do me a favor. If you represent me, please send me to jail. I won't even. I'll sign anything. Get me out of this. It'll be easier.
$100 will get you 15 minutes if you're lucky.
Is he left-handed guitar player? I'd like to know. Is he left-handed or is he right-handed?
I guess he's right-handed.
I think he's right-handed too.
He'll answer.
He's right-handed. I know he's right-handed. I could. The time I went to breakfast with him, he put his right hand up like he didn't want to pay for the check. It was like holy water. He put it away. So I saw him run.
His right hand shorter than his left? Right on.
Anyway, as we go into the close, I'm sure we've lost some audience. But again, you know, NASDAQ has pulled down their story on short selling. They don't want us to see it.
Hey, you want to know the guy's name? You're good at guessing. You want to guess the guy's name?
Oh, Jesus something. What?
No. How about if you guess what country the name sounds like it might be from, or now that might get into a little bit too. Well, he lives in Brazil, but his name is not what you would expect. His first name is Igor, and his last name is Appelboom.
That's a real name?
That's his name. I guess Appelboom or Appelboom. Igor, Appelboom. That's his name. He's a confirmed resident of Brazil.
That's a Brazilian name?
Yeah, I don't think that's a Brazilian name. I don't know where Igor, what country has Igor? Transylvania? Apple.
Igor. That was with Mel Brooks. Igor.
Walk This Way.
Right. That was the movie, right?
Those are some impressive knockers.
Right.
And he is right-handed.
Igor, what was oh my God, I can't even, that sounds,
it's Appelboom. It's Appelboom. It's spelled Applebaum. So, Appelboom. I don't know. Igor sounds Ruski to me, or something.
It sounds like a Russian Jewish gentleman.
Or Serb. This guy is saying Serbia. I don't know. Igor.
But there's your financial analyst, whatever his name is, Igor from Brazil, covering U.S. stocks.
Mark says it is Appelboom. So it's Appelboom. Appelboom. Igor.
Igor is a financial analyst. I'm sure Mr. Brazil, if he did a research to see what financial institutions Igor has attended to become a financial analyst.
He thinks he might be from behind the Iron Curtain.
Obviously, this is going to be a dark road. SHOT, their equity was destroyed by this criminal. Finger motion, I gave it to the Secret Service. The stock was driven down from $7.17 to $4.58. So I took the dollar amount. It was $2.50 times 54 million shares. That's how much money that was the crime attributed to that. I think I wrote it down for SHOT because they were nice enough to do this story just as I was doing a report for the Secret Service. And I said, here's the same pattern again by our Brazilian financial analyst. He has more power than Goldman Sachs. The reason they have anyone would follow or trade on that information because they use it as cover.
It's also an algorithm that the computers pick up missed earnings or no cash, or they just pick it up, the headline, and they go into paroxysms of selling or buying.
Right.
So Yasmina Dukanovic says Igor, but I don't know how that helps us. Igor is a Russian name. Well,
right. So now we all know who's behind Capybara, a Brazilian from who knows where, transplanted, whatever. Obviously, he's there to commit fraud to help the naked short sellers, the wolves in the U.S., to destroy things. They work together. Timothy Sykes, Mr. Bazile, is a big mouth short who's on Twitter all the time. He's obviously tied to the criminals because he bragged about being short this stock, SHOT. He did the same thing in GTII. So he's around the criminal gang. He's part of the hoodlums. We put his name on the truck in front of the SEC, FBI, DOJ many times. Obviously, he's just a renegade tied to the criminals, so he's around this name. So just keep an eye. His name may pop up in the middle of this whole thing at some point. Timothy Sykes. Sykes, that's it.
Timothy Yikes.
Sykes, whatever. He takes pictures on planes, private planes, with a boatload of cash in his Rolex. He's showing everybody how good he is.
Oh, here's YouTube is at. Well, anyway, Mark Bazile says he knows of Yikes. His YouTube is at Igor Apple Boom 5405. At Igor Apple Boom 5405. That's his YouTube.
So if you want to join the dark side, there's your criminal. Go follow him. Go short with him. Good luck.
And and make a deal with him. You can get paid, and you could always be, until you're not able to be, you can always be on the right side of the trade.
William, give me that information. Jot down whatever you have to do. I don't have a pen in my hand, but I will. Yeah,
I'm going to try to take a picture of it. I can send it to you.
All right, and we'll just get it to the Secret Service and show them how international our criminal activity is, and that we are fighting financial terrorists from offshore. They're stealing from our money, taking it offshore.
I'm going to send it to you, but the name, the top name in it is just the guy writing it down. It's not. Yeah,
no,
but you know
deal.
that.
We'll work it out. No big deal. Let them figure it out. They have all the sophisticated equipment to figure out who these guys are. Let them do it. I can only report it. You know, we want them off our backs. Let them go destroy Thailand or wherever else they want to go play games. You know, but we want them off our backs. So that's it. We're not stopping until we get Lynn Partners, the Paper Trail, John Hancock, Timothy Sykes, the Kramers, the whole bunch, Alpine. We're not stopping. There's so many of them. I can't even keep track of them anymore. You know, every day there's a new company getting financed. The companies give them money. The stocks get destroyed. They have free warrants. The whole thing is a big scam.
Mitchell.
I posted that stock to you. Sam, Eddie, Larry. They did a debenture. If you're going to have someone who knows, see if anyone knows them for you. I know you're not allowed to solicit them. And there was one done today. I can't remember. There's another one today.
Brazil is where there were 450 million BDR tokens found for AMC over a year ago. It's interesting. Duppy, what ticker? We're stuck on finger. And then Mark Bazile says we also subpoenaed several other social media handles who seem to be acting in concert. And that's the thing. They act in concert and without fear. The SEC and the journalist, if they are still on, you don't care. The SEC doesn't care. Congress doesn't care. They act in Congress, stealing from the U.S. market, stealing for the United States Treasury, and you don't care. I don't know. I don't know how you go to sleep. Igor.
Listen, he's going to sleep. He's living in Brazil. He's making money. They're probably sending him money through one of those ways they can wire money, and that's it. This is what you can do. That's what goes on, and it needs to stop. And it's counterfeiting, and the Secret Service needs to step in and arrest people onshore who will stop taking the stuff from the offshore people. That's it.
Right.
These online platforms give these guys give them the gun to shoot us. And, no one settles the trades on this side. That's how it lives. They know more about our regulations than we do. And that's what else can you say? You're fighting a stacked deck here.
Not much more to say.
All right. I can't thank Mr. Bazile again. And I will try to reach out to you, Mark. I just haven't had the time. I have a couple of companies that I want you to talk to. I've been busy working on a trip, then I got sick, and then now we're stuck here. But we will get this together, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And I'm glad you joined the fight. For people that don't know, Mark, I met him for breakfast, and then I met him when he did his filming for the upcoming documentary. The guy is an ace. He's not the long-term lawyer that some people require. He is the short-term guy, is what we all desire. Is that one, William? I'm rapping now, right?
Yeah.
He is the guy that can put it in play short-term. He knows.
Well, the biggest advantage, if you're a CEO caught up in this with working with Mark, is you don't have to explain to him. He understands what's going on. Most attorneys you go to see, it takes forever for them to get beyond their inertia of thinking, well, this wouldn't happen. They wouldn't allow it. It would be out there, you know. Anyway, he gets it right from the start, and you don't have to explain to him how criminal it is.
No, he knows how to attack the toxic lenders.
And he's got some great strategies. I love the one where you go into bankruptcy and then that contract is declared executory and it's just wiped out. Whatever toxic convertible note you've entered into as a CEO, just wipe it out.
That's just wipe it out. Do whatever you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, everyone. Have a great night. I'm talked out.
All right. I'm listening.
Mark, I can't thank you enough. You're keeping us alive with everything you're doing. I appreciate it. Just when we run out of gas, listen, everybody, keep up the fight. Everyone just look for that needle in the haystack. It all helps out. And you know what? We'll get past this.
We will.
All right?
We will. Thanks a lot.
Night, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ham.
Call ended.
So not wanting to just finish on that. The largest discovery of oil in 20 years, Iraq's biggest oil discovery in 20 years, 15 billion barrels. The Russians think it could be 15 billion barrels. I just, while we were on the listening to him, I looked up what are the largest discoveries over the last decade. And this is the thing. They're not finding oil the way they used to. And that's been true for quite a while. So in 2019, they discovered 8 billion barrels of oil equivalent in the Russian-owned Yamal Peninsula, known as Dinkov and Nyra-Menskovoy. Together, they harbor a combined 1.5 billion barrels of oil. So it's oil and gas, 8 billion. This is 15 billion in Iraq, controlled by Russia. And we're the ones that squandered your money spreading democracy there. All right, in 2018, producers discovered 10 billion barrel of oil equivalent around the world, with offshore discoveries representing 82% of the reserve. Novatek drilled one of the biggest exploratory wells of the year in the North Obskoye block in the Kara Ski and was rewarded a discovery of 960 million barrels. So less than a billion. It was 10 billion offshore in the entire world. 15 billion barrel discovery in Iraq. In 2017, it was lucrative for Latin America, with the region cradling 6 of the top 10 biggest oil well discoveries. Guyana was put on the map, with ExxonMobil adding an additional 1 billion barrel of oil equivalent inventory with discoveries like the Payara prospect and the Turbot offshore well. That is 1 billion in 2017. This is 15 billion barrels in Iraq, controlled by Russia and China. And it was your trillions of dollars and the arms and legs and eyes and brains of your sons and daughters that freed it up for Russia and China. Do you feel, I don't know, does it bother anybody? Anyway, 2016, the United States, it was a big year for the United States. 20 billion barrels of oil were discovered in a West Texas field located in the Wolfcamp Shale area in the Permian Basin. That's in 2016. Guess what? Very close to Oro Grande. And Oro Grande, Masterson, the geologist who discovered, I don't know if he discovered the Permian, but he discovered the Delaware Basin, I guess. Or it's not so much discovered. It was his theory of drilling and what he saw and the horizontal drilling. Anyway, he's the one doing Oro Grande. 20 billion in USA in 2016. 2015, Guyana won global headlines when ExxonMobil discovered 90 meters of premium oil-rich sandstone off the coast of this tiny South American country. In total, the Liza number one well houses an estimated 700 million barrel of oil equivalent. This is 15 barrels in this discovery in Iraq, controlled by Russia. We spent trillions of dollars in Iraq. Um, 2013 was a huge year for natural gas, with discoveries in Malaysia, Angola, and Mozambique stealing the spotlight. Afrin Lek oil made the biggest oil discovery of the year with 775 million barrel of oil equivalent discovered in the Ogo offshore block in Nigeria. Do I have to repeat this? 15 billion barrels of oil equivalent in Iraq, which we bombed the bejesus out of and got lost in and then left. And it's Russia and China's now. Do you really think the United States is being run by competent political thinkers, by a competent Department of Defense, by an army that knows what the heck they're doing? I mean, what kind of illusion are we living on? We just keep printing dollars and the rest of the world has to hop to our latest woke pronouncements? And then in 2010, a discovery well in Brazil, known as the Libra exploratory well, made waves with an estimated 15 billion barrel of oil equivalent. Do I have to point out again? Iraq's biggest oil discovery is bigger than any discovery made in the last 10 years. And it belongs to the Russians. And we are you as taxpayers, me, we spent trillions of dollars on that little Poppin' Jay's war because Saddam had insulted his father. I don't know what's going on. How much more of this can we take? How much more of these disastrous spending sprees can we go on? Anyway, I did. I guess I'll finish up with one more thing on oil. Just, I want you to, I think we should be investing in oil. My computer's about to expire. I just want to finish with who are the world's 10 biggest oil exporters. You might be surprised. I'll go through it quickly. Number one, largest oil exporter is, survey says, number one is Saudi Arabia. It's a powerhouse. In 2021, it exported $138 billion worth of oil exports, which represents 14.5% of global oil exports. It remains the top producer in OPEC, producing 12.14 million barrels of oil per day, or 12% of the global output. I don't trust the numbers, but they say here Saudi Arabia possesses approximately 15% of the world's oil reserves. We can talk about that later. But they've never decreased the amount, even though they've been producing for 60 years. Russia, number two. In 2021, it accounted for 11.8% of global exports, totaling 113 billion US dollars. Average production reached an average of 10.94 million barrels per day, accounting for 11% of global production. Number three, you're not going to guess this one. You're not going to guess this one. Number three, Canada. Canada is the world's third largest exporter of oil as of 2021. 81.2 billion worth of oil exported in 2021, comprised 8.54% of the global total. Their oil reserves are fourth largest in the world. Number four, you might not guess this one, but number four is Iraq, and you wouldn't have guessed number four. Iraq was the world's fourth largest exporter of oil. We bombed the heck out of it, squandered trillions of dollars, and Russia and China and probably Germany benefit from it. But hey, all we got to do is print more money and put sanctions around the world. Iraq was the world's fourth largest exporter of oil in 2021, with 72 billion in revenue, representing 7.5% of all oil exports that year. It is the second largest producer in OPEC. Iraq has the fifth largest oil reserves in the world. But according to U.S. Energy, the majority of those reserves are already tapped. I think Iraq still has a lot of oil. There was a lot of destruction in that war when Saddam. Okay, number five. Number five. Can you guess? Number five is the United States of America. The United States is the fifth largest oil exporter. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of the oil out of Texas could not be processed here, processed in Canada or UK. It couldn't be processed in our refineries. But anyway, let's not nitpick. The United States is the fifth largest oil exporter. It exported $67.6 billion worth of oil in 2021, or 7% of global exports. The country significantly, the United States, increased its oil output between 2011 and 2020. In 2022, the United States produced 20 million barrels of oil per day, about 20% of the global total, making it the world's largest oil producer. That was in 2020. I don't remember who was president. Guess what who is number six? Number six. I bet you can't guess this one. But it's pretty amazing. It's a small country. The United Arab Emirates, the size of South Carolina, exported $58.5 billion, and that comes from Abu Dhabi mostly, not Dubai, worth of oil in 2021. This accounted for 6% of global oil exports. The UAE produced 4.24 million barrels per day in 2024, 4% of global output. That might be reaching their max. The UAE is estimated to have the 7th largest oil reserves in the world, totaling 100 million barrels. Number 7, Nigeria, the world's 7th largest exporter of oil. $41 billion worth of oil and 4% of the global total. Nigeria has the largest proven oil reserves in Africa, or Africa. Number 8 will surprise you, Norway. Norway comes in at number 8, $41 billion worth, 4% of the world's trade. 8th largest exporter of oil, largest oil reserves in Western Europe. Number 9 might surprise you, Kuwait. Kuwait, given its small size, it's impressive. 4% of global oil exports in 2021, 40 billion worth of oil, produced 3 million barrels of oil per day, making it the world's 10th largest producer. This is a list of exporters. Number 10, Brazil. You never would have guessed. Brazil is the 10th largest exporter of oil in the world, exporting $30.7 billion worth of oil, 3% of the world's total, 3.77 million barrels of oil per day produced, and 12.7 billion barrels of oil reserves. That's what they have. 15 billion here. Bottom line, oil is the most in-demand product in the world. The largest exporters span the globe, with Saudi Arabia taking the top spot. Russia held the top spot in 21. However, it will significantly drop from that spot after it invaded the Ukraine in 2022. I'm going to leave my thoughts out on that. Anyway, I'll leave my thoughts out. Okay, that's it. That's my education for the day. Well, the significance of oil, I mean, I'm just putting some of that out, and it's a lot, it's too much information. But I think the significance, I didn't say who consumes the most, but what I noticed on that is, well, I'd have to check. But to my memory, the United States consumes about 22 million barrels of oil a day. So we're the world's largest consumer for now. But Nextbridge, I think the biggest reason the United States production went up as a swing producer almost was the Permian Basin. Yes, the shale plays all around, but it was the Permian Basin that added. I don't know if it can do it again, because there were a couple of changes that happened. One was perhaps the horizontal part, but the fracking part for sure, the fracking and horizontal. But also the second part, so technology. The second part that was a big change the Railroad Commission, and by the way, the head of the Railroad Commission in Texas is the most powerful person in Texas. The second most powerful is the lieutenant governor. Third most powerful, as I understand it, is the governor, and that was G.W. Bush. But anyway, and I'm not making fun. He doesn't talk like that. I don't know why I used that accent. I just think he was a totally incompetent president. Anyway, the biggest change the Railroad Commission did, they allowed production out of all zones simultaneously. So it wasn't so much that they found more oil, they're just able to suck it out of all zones in the well at the same time. So that's not really that sustainable. That is perfect. That is perfect. My dad was a white male and I listened to him. Yes, but was he straight? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, Saudi Arabia is always going to be wealthy relative to all oil countries. But two things are going on in Saudi Arabia, which make it, well, maybe three things. Make it going forward, I think, an unreliable source of oil on the global markets. One is the king of oil fields, the Garwar field, is being water flooded, and the special K zone. I'm not a geologist or a geophysicist or anything, but the special K zone is where the sweetest of sweet spots. To my memory, they're putting something like 20 million barrels of seawater in to get 5 million barrels of oil out. It's essentially a very sophisticated water flooding program. But that can fall out at any time. That one day you're going to hear the king say, we're going to save the rest of the oil for future generations. They're not going to admit that they can't produce that extra 4.5 million barrels a day, 5 million barrels a day. Other fields that Saudi Arabia is producing and other production decline by 500,000 barrels a day per year. So think about a decade. If they're producing 12 million barrels a day, and I'm not sure they actually are, those calculations they do by watching the flow of tankers. But anyway, if you say 12 million barrels a day sustained, and I don't think they can do it at a sustained basis, if it's declining 500,000 barrels per day per year, 10 years takes 5 million barrels off of that 12 million barrels production a day. So they have to start filling in and locating new reserves of oil. Well, what they're doing is a lot of what they're doing in Texas, drilling, and I'd have to study it more. I'm going from information I absorbed 10 or 15 years ago. So it may have changed, but over a decade ago, they were drilling, trying to do horizontal. They're drilling infill well. They're doing the less exciting wells. They're doing the wells where if you spend a barrel of oil to drill, you find 4 barrels of oil. It used to be you could spend a barrel of oil in Saudi Arabia and find 200 barrels or more. So that's another dynamic that's going on. And the final dynamic, which I just don't see how they get away from, is they're consuming a lot of their own oil. And that's increasing rapidly. I think Canada's first, Saudi Arabia second, then the United States in terms of how much oil we consume per capita. I might have it's something like that. Again, all this data is from when I really immersed myself in it, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. But so I could be off. But that's the dynamic. And Moody Waters in when OPEC set out their production quotas, everyone claimed their reserves. And Saudi Arabia put out 265 billion barrels of oil. And I think Iraq put out 90 and Iran put out 110 or 20. I'm doing it all by memory. But those reserves haven't declined. You'll still see the reserves in Saudi Arabia at 265. Maybe it's true, but they've produced. The Garwar field was discovered in either late 30s or late 40s. It's been producing for 80 years. And so anyway, I don't think it's credible that those reserves have actually gone down, actually stayed the same. But the thing is, that's happening all through OPEC. And technology keeps improving. One of the areas that could prove my skepticism wrong is nanotechnology. They're working on ways of getting oil, the surface tension of oil in the rocks, trying to get that to move. There may be, Saudi Arabia spends a lot of money on not 3D, 4D, and 5D, the ways of getting a lot of oil out of all the crevices and nooks and crannies. And there's no doubt that the Garwar field is a massive, massive field. It's just, can you get all that oil out using water? And the special K is, I think it's 5 inches. I can't remember, 5 or 8 inches. But it's the best zone in the world. But if that faults out, or if it gives way, anyway, the world certainly hopes that Saudi Arabia can continue to produce. Russia, I think Russia's producing a lot of oil, but Russia also wants to have an American century. And anyway, I'll leave it there. I'm sure I'm boring everybody. Yeah. That's interesting. Maggie Thatcher, she threw a party with the North Sea oil. Norway thoughtfully made investments and put it into a wealth fund. And I forget the name of it right now, but Norway's wealth fund is the largest in the world. The UK had a party for a decade. I'm all right. So I bored everything with oil. Everybody with oil. I'm going to sign out. Thank you, Mark. Wish everyone peace, love, and happiness, and continue to hug Jenny L with your prayers, and ask God to hug her. She'll get better. She's feisty, and she'll come back to nag the heck out of me. And anyway, I wish all of you a good night. Tomorrow will be the first day of December, and I'm going to guess that I'll have Brent Sun and the new CEO for CAUD on here maybe over the weekend, maybe Monday. I'll let you know. I'll try to get Busy Brands to help me to put it up early and notify. I don't know how to do that. And maybe he can show me how to do it, and we'll have that. So I'll say good night, and we'll see you down the road.